All right, let's see. Let me just make sure that this thing is on before we start. Let's see. Okay, I think we should be good. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning from. Um, we're back today. It's our second week of doing this. We're going to continue today talking about data science and machine learning with .NET. Specifically, we're going to be doing implementations with in FSharp. And today we'll be continuing doing these reactor workshops. Right. So again, reactors for folks who may not be. Hey, Daniel. Good morning. For individuals who may not be familiar with it, reactors are these hubs and spaces that Microsoft provides for community members, for meetups, for startups, for individuals to connect and sort of share ideas and network and do all types of things. And then at these reactors, typically what happens is there are presentations and workshops that are delivered on a fairly regular basis. Now, this was done in person, post pre-COVID, that is. But since everything's shut down now, they have since moved to being done online. And one of the workshops that they have that's really nice is this data science workshop where you go through the fundamentals, you go through and you learn about different tools and different techniques for how to manipulate your data and work with data in Python, right? So what we want to do here on the stream is we want to basically take this. I want to see, can we do all of these things in .NET? I really like .NET. I like the ecosystem. I like the tooling. So if I were to be able to do this with .NET, I'd be very happy. Um, and as it relates to .NET, C# is a great language, but my personal opinion is that F# actually lends itself much more nicely to these types of data analytics and machine learning workflows than C#. Again, that's not to say that C# can't do it. I just, my opinion is that F# is slightly more appropriate for these particular tasks. So, with that being said, let's get started. But before we do that, let me go ahead and kind of talk about a few things here. So, if you folks aren't aware of Sergey's blog, he usually posts something called FSharp Weekly, and basically it's like a newsletter. And I'm gonna paste this into the chat. It's basically like a newsletter, and there's all types of things. There's news, there's slides and videos. As we can see from this past week, there's actually quite a few things. He was kind enough to include our video that we did last time. We'll continue implementing this on Wednesday stream, which is Stamina, this static malware analysis using deep learning with .NET. There's also other really nice videos and recordings. This one on data processing with .NET for Apache Spark. I believe that I do want to cover this at some point on the stream. And I think that we'll be covering this sooner rather than later, especially as we are implementing Stamina. There's this other one on .NET Interactive, right, which is the tool that we've been using throughout all this time, at least for these workshops, and that allows us to do or to use Jupyter Notebooks with .NET, right? So .NET Interactive is a .NET kernel for Jupyter Notebooks, and then you have some discussions, the .NET stand-up for languages and runtimes. There's also a nice set of blogs there as well, a few GitHub projects from the community. Again, the community is really great at this. We can see that F# formatting, which what this does is it allows you to do literal programming and to work with different types of data formats. It got an update and now fully supports .NET Core, which is awesome. And if you feel like going through the archive, there's all these. They're all here available for you. So I I highly recommend that you check that out. At least if you're interested in some of the FSharp side of things. Now, as it relates to .NET and machine learning, um, there is a conference, the virtual ML.NET conference. If you haven't signed up yet to attend, please do so. It's actually going to be a really, really great workshop. It's going to take place on the 29th and the 30th. That's Friday and Saturday of next week. And the schedule's already out, actually. So if you want to know before signing up what's happening, you can just go to the schedule. And the first day on Friday, it's going to be a full day workshop where you're going to get to learn all the ins and outs of ML.NET. And Bree, who is the PM for ML.NET, she will be delivering it, and I'll be helping her as well with that. On Saturday, there is a full day of sessions delivered by the community, right? First, we'll start off just with a kickoff. Then it's going to be a discussion on ethics, right, which is very important when you are building machine learning applications and artificial intelligence solutions. It's important that you think that individuals, developers, stakeholders all think about the ethics and whether these systems are being built in a responsible manner, right? I'm gonna be talking. There's gonna be an introduction on ML.NET, right, for folks who may not have attended the talk, and also he does a really great job there. We have a Q&A with a Microsoft data scientist. Following that, then we'll go into some really nice topics like transfer learning, using Jupyter Notebooks, doing decision analysis, working with chatbots, working with the data frame API for exploratory data analysis, which are some of the things that we're doing here, and then building serverless machine learning APIs with Azure Functions. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff. There's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of connecting with the community. We look forward to seeing all you folks there. And again, this is happening on May 29th, and please register if you're interested in learning more about ML.NET. Okay, and speaking of conferences, Build, it's happening tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow. There's tons of really great sessions lined up. Again, it's all free. Right, so this year, because it's all going to be delivered virtually, it's free, and it's just going to be packed with tons of workshops and presentations. If you're interested in the .NET side of things, right, there's tons of stuff, right. You can see here where they'll be talking about .NET 5, right. There's going to be a session on .NET 5. Again, more talks about .NET 5, which is going to be the next wave of .NET. Let's see, WebAssembly stuff if you're interested in Blazor. Let's see. Yeah, that seems to be kind of it. And if you're interested on the topics built this year. Hi, Daniel. Yeah, so ML.NET, I believe it's going to be talked about at one of the keynotes. So there's not a specific session that I'm aware of happening at Build, but it will be talked about and in one of the keynotes. So stay tuned for that. I believe it's going to be in the .NET keynote. But yeah, if you're interested in AI, there is what is your guess about the future of it? Do you mean the future of .NET or ML.NET? Oh no, yeah, no, not at all. This is actually relevant since we're talking a little bit about .NET, ML.NET here. So in terms of the future, right? Like many products, there's no sure thing, right? That being said, though, I would say that .NET, ML.NET, as it relates to the .NET space and the community that it brings these capabilities to, is certainly of great interest, right? So I guess I'll put it that way. So while it may not have its own session, and just to kind of put it into perspective, right? So ML.NET doesn't have its own session. This was actually something that I saw a discussion, I believe, on over the weekend. If you take a look at F sharp, right, which is it's a smaller part of the .NET ecosystem, but it is an important part of the .NET ecosystem because, for example, if you see, yeah, if you see like stuff like pattern matching that came to C sharp, right? A lot of that stuff was already part of F sharp. So F sharp is very important to the .NET ecosystem. But if you were to look at this here, right, like there are no sessions on F sharp. But F sharp will be talked about as part of sort of the larger .NET story. And that's certainly the case with ML.NET, right? Like ML.NET certainly has a story. There's a lot of interest, right? As clearly as we can see, right, from the community work that's happening here, and that's very much like, if again, sort of to draw a parallel to F sharp, right? Within F sharp, there's a lot of support from Microsoft, right? It may not seem that way, but there is actually a lot of support for Microsoft at F sharp. But a lot of it also, it's fit for data processing. Exactly, yeah. And that's kind of why I'm doing it on the stream, um, because I do believe that F sharp is really great at these scenarios for data processing. So kind of drawing the parallels again with ML.NET and F sharp, um, a lot of the work that is done, and again, you can kind of see it here, right, in this newsletter, right? A lot of the work actually is done by the community. So Microsoft is certainly interested in, as you can see that, right? Like there's new releases of Model Builder. There's new capabilities that are often being added, just like the deep learning capabilities that, if I'm being quite honest, right? Being able to the image classification trainer that we have for ML.NET, right? It's probably one of the simplest ways to build a deep learning model, across ecosystems. Even if we were to use Python, or even if we were to use JavaScript, like I think there's this tool called ML5 or something like that, or P5. So there's definitely interest. There's definitely investment. It's unfortunate that it didn't make it to build, right? That there's not a full session on build, but there certainly is investment and interest in it, right? As it relates to the bigger story of sort of the .NET ecosystem and where it fits in. And I think I gave a talk once on this where, let me see if I can find it. .NET. I think it's 5. There's this really cool diagram of images. Okay, yeah. This is actually a really nice graphic of sort of the different offerings and where things are, right? So, yeah, an extension. Exactly, it is. And it is an extension. So my opinion, right? And again, everything I've just set up to this point is certainly what I've seen, and my opinion, right? So by no means don't take it as this is exactly what the product team is doing. But if you were to look at it in this case, right, like you see it's right next to IoT, but I do see AI as being sort of like a foundational piece to each and every one of these individual deployment platforms and places, right? Like it's going to be embedded in each and every one of these applications. And that's great, right? So in this diagram, right, it doesn't I don't see this as sitting here. Like, yes, you can build AI applications, but again, these applications aren't standalone. Just like .NET for Apache Spark, they're not standalone. They're part of the bigger picture, right? Desktop web applications, building for the cloud with serverless environments, right? Building for mobile and IoT. So right, exactly. Yeah, it was embedded into the products themselves, and it still is, right? To a certain extent. So yeah, I think it's one of those things that is foundational. I think it's one of those things that is certainly here to stay. Um, I think also part of that part of the challenge, right, is um, it's fairly new, right? At least to the .NET ecosystem. Like, yes, folks have been doing .NET. There's been tons of libraries that have been put out before for doing data analytics and data science, right? Um, but at the same time, these workflows and these set of applications and what you can do with these applications, it's only until recently that you've been able to build powerful things, right? Like, if you look at AI and machine learning, like, they've been around since, you know, decades, right? But it's not until now that you have the processing power and you have the data and you have all these things that now enable you to build these applications. So, in the grand scheme of things, AI and machine learning is still fairly new, right? It's we've heard about it for quite a few years, but it's still a fairly new thing that's constantly evolving, and certainly within the .NET ecosystem, right? It's very new, right? Like, ML.NET only was released a year ago. Sorry, 2 years ago. Um, a year ago it was the 1.0 release, but 2 years ago, since 0.1 was open source. So, long story short, there's interest. There is investment. You know, and by having a very active community. Yeah, exactly. And part of that does come back to the community, right? Because if it's like, okay, well, if nobody in the community is cares or is using it, right? Like, is this something that we want to continue making an investment in? I personally believe that it should be something that gets continued investment. But again, right, like, that's the market's the one that's going to speak, and the community is the one that's going to speak about that, right? Um, if the community is passionate and the community is using it, and they request features, right? Exactly. Um, then it comes back to, well, and not only the community, right, but like companies. So there's a bunch of companies that are already using this. There's a really nice recording that will be shown at from one of the customers that's using ML.NET, and it's going to be shown at the conference. And it's really amazing to see the scenarios that ML.NET has enabled for these customers, right, where they've gone from zero to a production scale application in, days, right? Which is often hard. And again, these many times they're not data scientists themselves who are building these applications. So yeah, there's definitely a, how can I say this? There's definitely a collaboration and a sort of a mutual partnership that needs to happen, right, between both the community and certainly Microsoft, right? There's no denying that. Like, one of the nice things about this is, I think, in prior times, right, when Microsoft developed technologies that were not open source, right, like, the community and the users sort of had to be dependent on Microsoft to do all the work. And sometimes that's great, right? Sometimes you may want that. But making these technologies open and making them available for everyone, not only to consume and to see the code, but also to contribute to it, right? It expands your reach. It expands sort of the ability of users to build upon what's already there, right? So yeah, in my opinion, there definitely needs to be a partnership. One from Microsoft that, hey, like, we want to support folks who are building these applications, but at the same time, that feedback and that engagement from the community also needs to take place. And again, right, like, it's only, as I said, it's only been 1 year since 1.0 released, and to be able to have, again, a full conference dedicated to it, that's awesome, right? I mean, I think you can draw parallels to a lot of these things, such as, like, I don't know if you folks remember the early days of Xamarin, right? And Xamarin, that was, at least for mobile development in the .NET ecosystem, that was, weird at first, right? Like, there were a lot of unknowns, and there were a lot of So it was an open source and community project for a while, right? Like I think the Mono, it came from the team that built the Mono runtime. So yeah, I mean, at first it was weird, it was different, but community got behind it. I mean, to the point that it got bought out by Microsoft, right? And it eventually became part of Microsoft. So yeah. Anyway, that's a really long rant, and I hope that I hopefully answered some questions, or was able to talk a little bit more about sort of where ML.NET is, and where I see that that it could be, there are opportunities for partnerships between the community and Microsoft. Let's see. All right, let's see. Let's get into this. So start up Jupyter Notebooks in the meantime. PowerShell. Yeah, but I mean, as it relates to FSharp, as it relates to ML.NET, I don't see these things going anywhere. And even if it went anywhere, at least on the FSharp side, right? Like you have a community of individuals who are like, all right, fine, Microsoft won't support it. We'll do that. And I think the ML.NET community is just as passionate. Dev. And that's not to say that Microsoft won't support ML.NET. I'm just saying. Let's see, stream projects. All right, so there's that. Yeah, this should be really interesting. I don't know if you folks have seen some of the stuff that's going to be happening with .NET, but this is going to be really nice. The unification of the runtimes, right? Because I think right now there's framework, there's core, or standard, and there's mono. And with this, right, there's going to be a single runtime and framework. So that, I would hope, simplifies a lot of things. I haven't really gotten a chance to try it out in much detail, but there's certainly, that's nice, right? That's a really nice feature, or that it's a nice effort to have. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, I agree. Um, so we'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't cause confusion. I mean, I remember the days. I mean, even to this day, right? Like, there's still confusion over, framework, core, and what else is there? I forget. Oh, standard, right? .NET standard, and which one should you choose, and stuff like that. I think some of that has sort of gotten better. I mean, core has been around for quite some time now. Um, but even then, right? Like there's a lot of instances where if you're working with a legacy application where if it's not broke, you don't really need to migrate over to core, right? Like there's very little reason for you to pay attention to core and what's going on there, um, other than for your own personal knowledge. If your application is working perfectly fine with .NET Framework, and .NET Framework, it's the support for that is indefinite. So again, going back to that, if it's not broke, yeah, there's really no need for you to even pay attention, at least for legacy applications, right? For greenfield and brand new applications, by all means, you should definitely be using core, and you certainly consider .NET 5, and seeing if maybe you can wait until around that time, right? I mean, .NET 5 won't be LTS, so maybe .NET 5 will be that time when you experiment with your greenfield applications in this sort of unified runtime. But .NET 6, I believe, will be the LTS. Yeah. And again, I'm no expert in this, so check out the build sessions. Like, oh, forget which one it's going to be. Yeah, the next face of .NET. What's actually happening at this one? Yep, .NET 5 source generators. This one's really cool. So this is something that I want to cover on the stream. I don't know if you folks have heard of, and I know that I'm diverging here, but that's okay. We'll get into Jupyter Notebooks. We're gonna start a new one anyway. So source generators C#. So this is this thing that was recently introduced, and it's going to, yep, it's coming as part of .NET 5 preview. So it's part of the .NET 5 wave. So what a source generator is, it's a component for C# developers, and it allows you to basically do what it sounds like to generate source code. You know, as part of some analysis that's happening. This is actually, I believe that this is powered by Roslyn. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to essentially create code or generate source code and then bring that back and add it back into the compilation of the project, right? Or the user's original source code. And like I said, I don't know too much about it, so I need to read a little bit more. But from the little that I know, okay, here's exactly emitting semantic code. But here's where I think this could be really interesting as it relates to .NET, right? To ML.NET, right? So so sometimes one of the things that you might want to do is, or one of the questions you might have is, I don't know if it shows it here, right? Let me see where they talk about this. JSON, right? Serialize values from classes into JSON strings, right? So one of the things, challenges, nice to haves within ML.NET would be is like, what if I don't know? What if I don't know what the schema of my data input and output is ahead of time? Is there a way that I could generate this on the fly? Now, I think now you might be able to do it with reflection, but the problem with reflection, as far from what I understand, is that with reflection, it's at runtime. Yeah, John. Yeah, exactly. I've seen it as well, which is why I think, like I said, I don't know enough about source generators to know whether this could work. But I think it'd be an interesting idea to try. It'd be an interesting experiment, right? You don't know ahead of time what your schema may be, but if you pass some, like if you're able to parse out the schema at runtime, could you then use source generators to generate classes for your schema? So I don't know. I don't know if it works. I don't even know if source generators are intended for these cases. But look, I mean, here it says serialize values from classes into JSON strings, or yeah. So maybe something we'll explore on the stream at some point later. And you know, by all means, if you guys want to go ahead and try it out, I would encourage you to do so, because if you could do it, it would be really interesting, and it would solve that problem or that question where people are like, well, I don't know it ahead of time. I want to know it sort of on the fly. So yeah, interesting. It would be interesting to look into. So source generators, and again, this is one of the nice features that's coming in as part of .NET 5. So really looking forward to it. All right, let's see. All right, so Jupyter Notebooks seems to be running now. Let's open that up. By the way, we're going to continue doing stamina and implementing stamina over the next this next Wednesday, assuming that there's no really cool sessions that are happening or that I conflict with that time. But I don't know if you guys recall that last time I was having trouble with how can I turn this file into a how can I turn this file into an image, this binary into an image, or the bytes of the file into an image? I played around a little bit more after the stream, and I got it working, I think. So now that that part may be unblocked, I think we can move on to the more interesting pieces of it. So stay tuned, and Wednesday we'll continue doing that. But in the meantime, let's continue with workshops. So data science full day. So for this particular workshop, right, the full day, we left off here with GitHub. I don't know if it made sense to continue going with it, right? I think at this point we were up to like control flow, right? Like, how can you build if statements? With FSharp you have pattern matching, right? Which is a really powerful way, and with C# you have that now, but with FSharp that had been there for quite some time, and that allowed you to do control flow. You had active patterns. You have different ways of controlling the flow of how your code executes, right? And then you have functions, which, where is it? Oh, there you have while loops. You have functions, which pretty much work the same in FSharp. So I don't know if it makes sense to continue going down this, right? There's only a few things left. And since we're going to try to do we're trying to do data analytics here. I think we can just jump to the next one, right? We can figure out the FSharp pieces along the way. So in this particular notebook, the second notebook here, it's all based on NumPy, and NumPy is this very popular library that allows you to create and manipulate data in memory. All right, so it allows you to work with arrays and perform operations on these arrays, like what's it called, like element wise operations on these arrays, and it allows you to do matrix multiplication, all types of operations that are essential in performing data analytics and certainly data science, right? So NumPy is built for Python, right? So we don't have access to that per se, but we do have access to NumSharp. Yeah. So NumSharp is a .NET version of the NumPy API. So it's like the .NET implementation of the NumPy library, right? So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to see, can we leverage NumSharp to try to get through this workshop on NumPy. I don't know if we can. I've tried it once or twice before, NumPy, and most things it seems to work. I don't think I've really ran into any major issues. So we'll see how far we go with this. And just as a reference, if you folks hadn't heard of this organization, right, SciSharp. So SciSharp are the folks behind a lot of really great projects, right? Especially when it comes to sort of the data science and machine learning space for .NET. They are the folks behind TensorFlow.net, which is actually the set of bindings that sort of the lower level .NET bindings that make possible the image classification trainer in ML.NET, right? So the high level API in ML.NET for doing image classification actually is supported by TensorFlow.net, and these folks over at TensorFlow.net, let me see if I can go back here. I think I saw something here. Where is it? I guess it's not here, but essentially they've been doing a lot of work in, is this it? New releases 20 alpha. Yeah, there it is, 0.2 alpha. And this version of TensorFlow.net is basically building or trying to implement bindings for TensorFlow 2.0. Yeah, so it'd be very helpful to train a minimal TensorFlow model using TensorFlow.net. Yeah, yeah. I haven't played too much with this, right? I haven't tinkered. But yeah, I mean, they have really nice documentation and really nice getting started guides here. So yeah, and I have yet to play to sort of tinker with the TensorFlow 2.x version of the API, right? My understanding is that 2.x sort of gets its is because before with with version one of the TensorFlow API, some people felt it was too low level, right? So you had Keras on top of it, right? My understanding is, among many things, one of the big changes with TensorFlow 2 is sort of the integration or the very tight coupling with the Keras API. So it makes building and developing these models in TensorFlow with version 2x of the framework much much simpler. Let's see. I'm working with facial recognition project. I'm stuck between MTCNN, which is not available on Onyx yet, but I would like to learn how to retrain my own models. MTCNN. I don't think I've heard of that one. For TensorFlow as a pip package. Interesting. Landmarks bounding box. Very cool. I hadn't heard of this. I guess it's a library, right? Is that what it is? It's a face detector. It's written from scratch using reference MTCNN Sandberg. Interesting. Huh. I'll have to check this out. Um, okay, let's go back here. It needs to be aligned with face landmarks. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I had ever heard of this implementation or of this particular neural network architecture. But it looks interesting. I'll have to check it out. FaceNet. ArcFace. And does ArcFace have an implementation in like an Onyx implementation, Daniel? Seems not align face correctly, so I miss accuracy. Ah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, this is really interesting implementations. I mean, one of the things that I was, yeah, that would be really great to see that project, Daniel. One of the things that I asked myself, right, is you have these facial recognition technologies, uh, and you got to think, right, like there were a lot of companies that invested money in building these facial recognition and sold these services and algorithms doing facial recognition. I wonder how effective those algorithms are now that you have people wearing face masks. Um, my intuition says that they're not very effective. Um, but yeah, sometime maybe. Yeah, it'd be really cool to see if there's a way to implement this with ML.NET, Daniel. Be really interesting. I mean, I certainly would be interested in seeing that. Um, let's see. Okay, let's. Where were we? Oh, we were so. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're taking this. we're going to try to implement this NumPy or go through this NumPy workshop. What do we call? So this one's NumPy. Let's call ours. So we're going to do an FSharp NumPy. NumPy 2 dash NumSharp for us. Rename. So let's change this to. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, if you can get that on GitHub, that would be great. NumSharp introduction to NumSharp. NumSharp is an implementation of NumPy in .NET. Okay, and let's add the link here. Yeah, there it is. Boom. Okay, cool. All right, so let's take a look at what this. For example, words and documents can be represented in numbers or encoded letters, right? NumSharp is numerical. Is short for numerical Python. Storing and operating on dense data buffers. It's array-oriented computing. Goes back to NumPy project 2000 means submitting numeric and NumArray projects together around single array-based framework. Let's get started. All right, so first let's install it. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use this new syntax. This is actually something else that's coming as part of .NET 5. I don't know if C# is going to get it. Certainly F# is, which is the ability to just reference and install packages in this way. And this is so while it's available for .NET Interactive now, it's also going to be made available to F# Interactive, right? So you're going to be able to access it from the scripts as well. So which is really exciting. And I guess it's just called NumSharp. Let's go to NuGet to verify. NumSharp. Yep, that's it. When was the last release? 5 months ago. All right, good enough. Let's see here. Let's go back. Let me get NumSharp. So let's install this and wait for it. Let's see. IPython gives you the ability to quickly explore contents. NumPy tab completion. Okay, from the drop-down menu, you can select any function to run. Okay, so I believe in Python you get IntelliSense. Oh, okay. Open NumSharp. This is something that I don't know why it does it. Like, does this just create a reference and then, like, does it just create a reference and then when you do open or when you use a using, it doesn't execute until the value cannot be null. Yeah, it seems to be a .NET Interactive. Parameter directory, .NET Interactive. Yeah, this seems weird. Let's see. Seemed to work that time. I don't know what happened. We'll try to figure that out if it happens again. Actually, let's try it again. Restart and clear output. Okay. So let's try to get this to happen again. And the reason I want this is because I know that I've seen this before, and I don't know if I'm sure it might be part of the repo, right? The .NET Interactive repo, like somebody raised an issue, but I don't know that for sure. So we will try to fix that. Okay. All right. So see if we can grab this. Let me open up a new window with GitHub. Okay. Patience. Which one are we going to? We're going to .NET Interactive. Okay. Issues. Let's see if we can find anything. New Bargaining value cannot be null. Value cannot be null. Nothing. Okay. Which version of .NET Interactive? If you find us, and run the about. Okay. So let's see what happens if I run this. Do I need to print anything? The command line .NET Interactive -- version. Okay. .NET Interactive -- version. Okay. All right. I guess this is our version. All right. So, which version? Okay, there are a few ways. I was running Windows 10, browser, Edge, Jupyter Notebook, screenshots. Can I make this bigger like this? Yep. So, print screen. All right, let's see. How does this look? Okay. Cool, very nice. So, let's see. Let's try to be as descriptive as possible. When installing a package and using open or using comma the first time an error is thrown, a NuGet package an error is thrown. Okay, let's see. Okay, rerunning it makes the error go away, and I can use the package. Yeah, good enough. All right, let's see. Okay, it's using NuGet package. Okay. All right, good enough. Submit it. All right, so hopefully they're able to take a look at this. In the meantime, let's go back to what we're doing, because this shouldn't impact what we're doing. Again, we know that if we just rerun this, it works. Great. Okay, so let's see. Can I do np dot add? Nothing happens. Steam connected. That's weird. Let me restart this. Okay. I'm not sure why that didn't work, or what's going on here. So let's try this again. Okay, run it. Then we're going to run this. Okay. I guess something that I like to know is, notice how it keeps saying like install package, install package. I wonder if it actually does multiple installations. I don't know exactly where these installations go. It would be interesting to find out though. Let's see. .add. What happens if I do this? Okay, it doesn't fail. Okay, all right, so at least we get an error now. So now we know that we need to give it a 2 arrays, and I gave it an int. Okay, so at least it's working. All right, and we could use NP, and I don't know why, but so typically when you're doing this with Python, this is what you usually do, right? Import NumPy as NP, and then you just do NP dot whatever the function or operation it is that you're trying to do. In this case, though, our package is at NumSharp, but I think by default it automatically sort of allows you to do NP, which is usually how you would interact with NumPy. And okay, there we go. Okay, so how do I do this? Dot control space. I don't know which one of those worked. So if I do np dot tab, is that going to give me IntelliSense? There we go. Okay. So it looks like I do get some IntelliSense here, which is cool. Very nice. Okay, and these are all the functions that you can do. Okay, awesome. So if you remember, these functions are ones you like in section 2, documentation help explain parameters. What does this do? So I know adding a question mark at the end. No. I know adding a question mark at the end typically in Jupyter Notebooks will give you some sort of documentation around this. In this case, it doesn't seem to be the case. It does nothing for us. And I wonder if it's because the question mark with .NET, typically you use it with like ternary operations. So if you're doing, if you're checking nulls, right? So I wonder if that's why it can't interpret the question mark. Anyway. Okay, a specialized data structure for analysis. By the end of this subsection, you should have a basic understanding of what NumPy arrays and how they differ from other Python data structures. Okay, by representing data as an array of numbers. Yep, depending on the data, you could use list, but you might want to specialize your structure. Let's take a look at okay. Python list. So in this case, they're creating a list, and they're doing list comprehension. We can use type item for, okay. They can hold heterogeneous types of data in a single list object. So in Python, this is true, but in FSharp, it's not. If we recall to our collections in FSharp must be of the same type. The only, and it's not even a collection, but one of the only data structures that that may allow multiple data types are tuples and dictionaries or maps. All right, but okay, let's keep going here. Let's see. Comes at a price. Each item in the list is a separate Python object. Each item must contain its own type info, reference, count, and other information. Can become expensive in terms of memory and performance if you're dealing with known hundreds of millions of items. Our arrays just store a single type of data, which means that all of the object-related information for items such an array be redundant. Okay. A single pointer block of data. Memory-wise, NumPy provides efficient operations on data stored in ND array objects. Okay, and an ND array is a NumPy array. Creating NumPy arrays method using list np.array14253. Okay, so let's see. Create NumPy NumSharp Array. Okay, so np.array, and what do they use? They use 1, 2, 1, 4, 2, 5, 3. Does that work? It does. There it is. There's our NumPy array, or NumSharp array. Okay, NumPy contain single type. Interesting. So it seems like NumPy arrays are a way of enforcing a single data type, which you already get in FSharp. So do we even need something like, I mean, I think we need NumSharp, at least for the creation aspect of it. You have, FSharp provides this capability already. But I think when you want to do element-wise operations and operations on the list, maybe NumSharp may help us there. All right, let's keep going. Okay. If you want to explicitly set the data type, okay. So np dot array. It's gonna be what? 1, 2, 3, 4. D type equals float 32. Does this work? Okay. A list is not compatible with the type array. Check the type string is not compatible with the type type. Okay. Fine. Does this work? With type array. So do I have to do this? This type is no accessible object constructor. Okay. So what is a type of? Front end must be given explicit type arguments. Type your. So let's see. Float. Okay. Float 32 type. How can I get the type of a float 32? C#, floating point numeric types. Okay. System.double. Where's float 32? Use context where a function is not expected. Okay. The array takes one argument. Details of any argument settled. Okay. Alright, but I get no help here because okay, so D type, no. Yeah, this isn't helping. Let's take a look at NumSharp and see np.array, what the options that what options it provides us with. So bitmap, core. I'm gonna go with APIs. MP load, save, resize, MP array manipulation. Nope. Could it be this? APIs? Yep, and NumPy dot. Let's see. Okay, this is not what I was looking for. Array manipulation. Nope, this is not it either. I'm trying to find a good way to inspect what type of data we can use. And this is not helping. What if I were to use VS Code? So yeah, let's try that. So let's try to do VS Code. So yeah, let me see if .NET Interactive has anything. Am I logged in here? No. .NET Interactive. Let's take a look at IntelliSense. Wrong IntelliSense on variables, autocomplete support. So it seems something that was suggested. Autocomplete to be added, see attached, but still missing function. Yep, function documentation. Tab displays method property names. This far from the IntelliSense we know and love. Is there a in the Jupyter lab? If can I tell you yes, I already use Python. Come on. Okay, it's coming. Yes. Okay, VS Code. Whoa, what is this? We'll be bringing Jupyter as well, but we're starting with VS Code because its rich language service model is particularly useful. Ah, interesting. This is very interesting. See? This is all the fun stuff that you get to find when you dig through issues. See, for instructions. Oh man. Can we do this in Visual Studio? It merged 17 days ago. Let me see. I think that there was something I saw here. All right. Interact. Okay. Work as in Visual Studio. Find instructions here. Attention support is okay. VS Code. Oh, okay. I need to download VS Code Insiders. Okay. I could do that. I could do that. Let's see. Excuse me for going down this rabbit hole, but I think this is awesome. And it's great because, I mean, so one of the things, right? One of the challenges here is this exactly this here, right? I mean, like, I'm not getting any help. Okay, there. I guess. D-type. No. What happens if I do this? Does that work? Okay, this doesn't help. Yeah, this doesn't help at all. And then if I do this, I press tab. I kind of get something here, right? Which we're looking for, the D type. Does this work? No accessible member of a named array takes 0 arguments. Yeah, but I didn't give you a 0 argument. I told you the type there is IntelliSense Jupyter FSharp. Yeah, see, there you go, Daniel. Yet another reason to stick with FSharp. Does this work? 1, 2, 3. Okay. This expression was expected to have type float 32, but here it has types A and B. I don't get what this means. This expression was expected to have type float 32, but here has type A. Okay. So, a list is not compatible with the type array. All right, you know what? Let's try this. Let's try making it. Let me do. Let's I don't know. X is equal to fine. Okay. Now x dot d type. It's an int32. Okay. So x dot d type system dot single. Okay. It cannot be set. This function is used where a function is not expected. Okay. Whatever that means. D type. So if I can't set it, where can I set it? Comma D type equals system single. Okay. The field constructor, remember, the type is not defined. Maybe you want to. All right, this d type equals system dot single. No. D type equals system dot single. Okay, so here you're telling me that you don't like this, so fine, I can do that. Where a function is not expected. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, let's see what's going on here with our VS Code Insiders Edition. Okay, so what else are we doing? Yes, I accept the agreement. Sure. 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 Okay. So here are instructions. Okay. So there's an extension from the marketplace. What's the name of it? .NET Interactive Notebooks. Cool. Okay. Code Insiders enable proposed API message. .NET Interactive extension. Okay. All right, we'll try it out. Just make sure that this is done. I don't want to launch it right now. And what this said was, oh, I should have launched it. Visual, let's see. Visual Studio Code Insiders. Yeah. Okay, there's this, and then we want to get the extension, and that's, what's it called? It's the .NET Interactive. There we go. Install. All right, so now we've done this, but what we want to do is we want to go to stream projects. I'm going to go to Reactor, Data Science 1, and what we want is we want this to NumSharp dot, what's the extension have to be? .NET-interactive. Okay, so let's paste that in, and now we have this thing. And what we want to do is we want to do code insiders, enable proposed APIs. Ugh. Okay. Code insiders. Okay. Okay, this work. And what I want to open is this here. Okay. It's installing something. It's still installing. All right, awesome. Okay. I don't want this though. I want, do I want to give you access to my firewall? Sure, you can have access to it. Okay. I want FSharp though. Okay. R NuGet sharp. Okay. How do you run it? Ah, see, there you go. Now this one works. This one works. NuGet NumSharp. Now if I do open NumSharp. Oh, because C#. Okay. That's silly, but okay. Okay, input fixtures and NumSharp is not defined. Maybe you want to one of the following. No, I want NumSharp. Oh. Plug in because my battery's dying. There we go. Okay. So ha, so close. All right. So again, we'll give the benefit of the doubt that this is new. And let's file a bug. See, this is all learning experience. Here, NuGet. Print screen. Let's get rid of this. Print screen. .NET Interactive. Oh, I'm not signed in here. Let's see. GitHub.com. Interactive. So this has been a relatively uneventful stream. Just trying to get this thing to work. But at least we learned a few things. We learned that .NET Interactive support for Visual Studio Code is definitely a thing. It's very early, but it's a thing. Let's see. VSCode.NET. VSCode.NET Interactive extension does not recognize installed NuGet package. Let's see now. using the VS Code extension, installations of NuGet package. So extensions of package. However, when open, I use an open statement, comma, it doesn't recognize the install package. Okay, on my Windows 10, and there's no browser. There is VS Code and a screenshot. Let's see. Put type check namespace. NumSharp. Okay. All right. Good enough. Submit it. Okay, so we can't do this with VS Code because we can't even get the package installed. That's okay though, because it's very early. So how do we proceed here? We could keep going by just pretending that we don't want to set the D type, although I think that's going to come back and bite us. Yeah, I mean, let's try it. We'll figure this D type situation whenever we need it. All right, so let's see. Most you let application size NumPy arrays can be explicitly multidimensional. Here's one way of creating a multidimensional array. I plus 3. Okay. So array, let's get rid of this here. np.array. Let's see. What I want to do here is for I in range. Two, 4, 6. I in 2, 2, 6. So let's see. We want to essentially create a list, right? 2, 2, 6. And what this is going to do is it's going to go from 2 to 6, and it's going to skip by 2. Yeah, 2, 4, 6. There we go. 2, 2, 6. Range I plus 3. Okay, what happened here? All right, there's all types of stuff. Array, compatible, constraint mismatch, type int list. I mean, essentially what we want to do here is we want to say for I in 2, 2, 6. I plus 3. Yep, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9. to 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9. So why doesn't it work? I could do that, right? Let x equal to dot 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this seems to work here. Why doesn't it work here? Okay, no overloads match the method array. Overloads are shown below. Int list list. We type A. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So what was going on was it didn't like me passing a list, so I had to create an array. And it liked an array because, let's see here. It liked an array. Let's call it again, let x equal to. Okay. Now if I were to do x dot shape, what do we get? Interesting. It's 3 by 4, as expected. Yes. Shape dot dimensions. There we go. It's 3 by 4. Okay, interesting. So in this case, it was using a list, right? A Python list. Now, we don't use a list here for FSharp because a list is like a linked list. NP array expects an array, and we create an array by using these pipes here. So this seemed to work. And here we actually use a list because we don't care. We're only using this to enumerate. Right? So because this is not what's actually going to be passed in as part of the array creation, or what's going to be produced as part of this list comprehension operation, we don't care what we're iterating over. All we care about is that this array itself contains the result of these list comprehension operations here, and that this is an array and this is an array. That's all we care about. What if I made this a list? Would that work? There we go. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, just trying stuff out. That's what we're doing here, experimenting. Okay. All right, building from scratch. np.zeros. Okay, np.zeros 10 comma d type equals system dot in 32. All right, so np zeros creates 10 zeros. np.ones 3 by 5. np.ones 3 comma 5. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't like this. It expects 3 and 5. Again, it doesn't like. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So in this case, what's happening, it's you create a 3 by 5 floating point array filled with ones. So in this case, there it is. It's all 15. Now the representation here, it seems like it's continuous, and it's flat. But I bet you if we were to do something like dot shape dot dimensions, it would tell us it's a 3 by 5. There you go. See? Okay, that's interesting. It's interesting. Very interesting. Something we're going to have to play with later on. So one of the nice things about Jupyter Notebooks is that you're able to basically, in this case, by default, it's just creating a single, it's treating this like a single array. But because it's a multi-dimensional array, right, we'd like to be able to represent it basically like, just like it's the, we'd like to be able to represent the multi-dimensional array rather than as a single array. Okay, this d-type flow is really becoming annoying because we can't set it. Type equals type constraint mismatch. The type int is compatible with type int. Type shape. Yeah, it's gonna be really annoying. All right, let's see. np.arange. np.arange. Zero. Well, okay. So np.full. Create a 3 by fill with 314. The first number is the tuple given the number of f rows. The second number is the tuple is the number of f columns. Okay, so np.full, and then we're gonna do what? 3, 5. It's again 3 by 5, but in this case, I want it to be 3.14. Full variable are shown below. Value type. Let's see, no overloads match the method full are shown below. Param array. Okay, fill value. It's the value type and param array shapes. Okay, so it seems like this is what it wants. So we give it the value. There we go. Okay. So it's a little bit different than here. In here, in NP full, you give it the dimensions or the shape, and then you give it the value that you want to fill it with. And with NP full, it's the opposite, right? You use the value, and then you provide the shape. So if that's the case, I wonder if I can do this. Once d type equals float. I don't know, just throwing stuff out there. Named arguments must appear after all arguments. I don't know. System.single. Let's see. Shapes. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. And p.once, it's nullable, and we give it a type. Shapes. Unit system.single. Okay. I think we got this d-type thing down. I think so. All right. Float 32. No. D-type must be a type. So FSharp float 32 return type. How can we get the type? Nullable dot float 32. Okay, it's a 404. That's not what we're looking for. Single. Let's see. FSharp get type. Type dot get type. Get the current type. Okay, get type. Type dot get type float 32. Type. Okay, there. Okay, so let's try this. Type dot get type system dot single. There we go. There we go. Magic. So we figured out this whole D-type thing. All right. I think that was pretty productive. Okie doke. All right. I like this. And then just to make sure, let's see. Let x equals to whatever. Now what I want to know is x dot d type. Look at that. Look at that. All right. Pretty happy with myself. All right. I think it's a job well done here. Okay. Let's see how much more we got. Because I probably should be logging off sometime soon. Okay, so it's all these different operations that we can do. Okay, so let's pause here. And next time we will go ahead and continue creating NumPy arrays from scratch. And we'll look at the different data types and different attributes that we can use with our NumPy arrays. So yeah, I mean, it was a little interesting. It took a while to try to figure this out, but it seems like we got it, right? So if we just, let me just make sure that that wasn't a fluke. What are we doing here? Right here, right? So where we did np.array, np.array, type.get type system.single, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4. This worked? No, because it wants an array. Why do you do this to me? Why are you the way you are? It's literally okay. np.array. Okay, so what are the overloads? Data copy bool, data t value type. Okay, so okay, so that works. That is interesting. I don't know why that is. So in here we were doing that earlier example that we wanted, right? Which was just passing data and then give it the data type. So this resembles, it seems to be like pretty close, right, to what we're trying to do. Let me see, what does this work? D type equals. Okay, that works also. Which is fine. It's fine. But then when you do this using these other things like NP1s, right? Then you reverse it. Then what you do is you tell it, here's the data type and here's the shape. Okay. I mean, fine. Good enough. All right. Anyway, yeah, let's pause here. Let me go ahead and stop this and check in these changes. Make sure that the latest stuff is in there. I'm waiting for it to shut down. NumPy, NumSharp session. I don't know. All right, so we have this here. All right. All right. So what did we do today? Well, today we found out how we can use NumSharp, .NET implementation of NumPy to basically manipulate data. We didn't get very far. We were trying to figure out how to use IntelliSense with Jupyter Notebooks or with the .NET Interactive kernel, which the experience was limited at best, and we raised a few issues in .NET Interactive repo. We figured out how to pass in data types, and yeah, we learned a little bit about the FSharp stack. So I'll be back on Wednesday, and on Wednesday we're going to continue implementing the we're going to continue implementing Stamina, right? So that's the static analysis technique for malware analysis, static malware analysis technique that uses deep learning, right? And we're going to be using ML.NET, and we're going to continue implementing that on Wednesday. So this is going to sort of take a break until next Monday, where we'll continue this. But yeah, I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, I think that this is I hope that you guys that were watching, learn a thing or two. I know I certainly did, right? This is always a really good learning experience. I think that's, like, in order to know what to do, I think that you need to know what not to do, right? So as frustrating as that may be, it's a learning experience nonetheless. So again, I'll be back 10 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, where we're going to continue Stamina implementation. And yeah, thanks for joining. And again, I hope you learned something. It was fun. Thanks, folks. Talk to you later. Bye.